Oh yeah, that's right. I appreciate you bringing that up. When you mentioned rooting for South Africa. Uh, it's really close now to the actual FIFA World Cup itself. So everybody's in there been doing their qualifiers for some time. Almost forgot about the qualifier stuff. But that but I do appreciate you showcasing who you're rooting for. Or that always helps further growth. But I'm having to eat while I do this because well I'm having to have dinner at the same time as this. But would you call this a tank bowl? Let me ask. Is it too early to call this a tank bowl? Because the Philadelphia Union have yet to win a game in 4 tries. And there's a draw for Chicago Fire, so it's not really that much of a tank bowl. But if I'm Philadelphia, I would be embarrassed by the results at this early stretch. I really would. Really would be embarrassed. Absolutely embarrassed. No question about it. It's not gonna be easy trying to eat and commentate at the same time. But I'll see what I can do. I've tried to do multitasking before, and I think because of the timing. Ah, ah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Speaking of what teams got, Chicago Fire are actually about to get their own new stadium again. Because for those of you that haven't followed Chicago sports or pay much attention to the saga with the White Sox, they lost that site they were initially gunning for to the Chicago Fire because the Fire did not require a full-on district. They only just wanted the stadium on the site. And they were gonna foot the entire bill for the entire stadium, which only comes out to the cost of around like almost $800 million, which considering how expensive stadiums have gotten is pretty cheap if you think about it. Around $800 million is actually cheap in comparison to how the stadiums and stuff is being dealt with nowadays. So I'll take this time to say congratulations to the Chicago Fire for or soon beginning the construction phases on their new home. I can definitely tell you they're gonna enjoy a lot more than Soldier Field. Which last I heard about that saga, the Bears themselves may actually be looking at Hammond, Indiana, or something like that. Yeah, what a saga, right? Well, apparently, see, Chicago ain't gonna lose that much money over it because most of the revenue comes from everything else. So my understanding is that the city of Chicago is just going to transform Soldier Field into a year-round place to host events. Let's see how badly I pronounce player names this time, because you know it's going to inevitably happen. Let's see. Based on what I'm looking at for the lineup sheet here, Chicago's running a 4-3-3, and Philly is running a 4-4-2. And then let me check here. In at net for Philadelphia is Andre Blake. Oh, they're just starting to go over that now. And in at net for Chicago is Chris Brady. Because as we all know, Brady's tend to be pretty good people. Okay, there are some Bradys out there that are good people. I still have a certain disdain towards a certain Brady out there. I think the main qualifiers for the FIFA World Cup should be coming to an end soon if they haven't already. I think. I know at this point we're about 3 months out from it. About or 2 to 3 months. Whatever the time frame is. So obviously there will be an MLS break for it. So yeah. So I'm guessing since they both have South African players, no matter who wins this game, it's a win for South Africa. Yeah. One thing I do know about this sport is that your main two leagues are your English Premier League and Spain's La Liga. And I know there's others out there. They're like Germany's Bundesliga. Scotland has their own league, and they all have their own different tournaments. Like Europe has UEFA. I don't know if it's both Americas or just North America, but there's CONCACAF. I think that's how you pronounce it. There's all kinds of stuff, variants and stuff out there. I mean, the game itself is going to start in a few minutes. Just trying to do what I can here. But for anybody that's new around here, a lot of this venture into streaming these MLS games is more so a venture into continuing my quest to learn more about the sport. So I'm also here to provide some form of entertainment. Not good entertainment, just at least something. Just at least something. And things will go off the rails. They usually do. There'll be long stretches of silence, of me not being able to accommodate much. If anything happens. And I know I was late to starting the stream itself. I didn't get to I didn't get to wrap up what I was trying to do in time. Time to start it right on the dot. Luckily, I wasn't that far behind, that much late, which is good because because that shows the amount of consistency I'm showing. Also, I want to touch on hockey for a moment because the Colorado Avalanche are the first team in the NHL to clinch the playoffs. And the Columbus Blue Jackets actually took third place in the Metropolitan Division. Yes, the Columbus Blue Jackets. I am not making that up. The Columbus Blue Jackets. Told you this hockey season, it was all kinds of drunk. It'll be crazy if some droughts were broken. Apparently, according to DraftKings Sportsbook, there's a 40.3% chance Philly gets their first win of the season. Well, let's see how true that is. Will Philly get their first point or their first win? Gotta be one of the two. Yeah, I think I was just talking about that. Do I care about who wins as much as a fan of the Charlotte FC? Yeah, unless I state otherwise, I'm not much into the rivalries. Like, But there are some pretty entertaining. There are some pretty entertaining rivalries out there. There in the world of sports. But the game is actually underway right now. This is in Philadelphia. They're both wearing the blues, but one's wearing a navy, one's wearing a light. Totally not confusing, right? I mean, I know it's pretty common. See two teams that wear that both wear their homes or their first kiss or a mixture of home and alternate. I know it's way more common in this sport, but it's always fun, isn't it? It's always fun to make some joke about confusion, ain't it? The light blue looked more like a white on TV to me. But there's already been a foul this early into the game. I mean, you can expect plenty of them. And I think I'm almost finishing up with this here. I should be able to get full blown into commentary before too long. Oh, after a Shield winning season. Oh, right. They started 3-1 last. Went 3-1 to start, and now they're 0-4 to start. First team that just won the Supporters Shield to start out winless like that, or without a point. No, of horrible starts. Even though they're seemingly doing better now, Wolverhampton had a horrible start to the season. Then in the Premier League, like horrible. They'd be lucky to avoid relegation at this point. Been that bad. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Yeah, they've only had 3 wins all season at this point. That's it. A grand total of 17 points. It's been that bad. And wouldn't be Apple TV without some issues. I mean, they're inevitable with streaming. And that attempt was saved right there. And Chris Brady, he won't stop it. Yeah, almost done here. And that shot, that got sent flying straight into the fence. Oh, they're bringing up the iPhone. Shot on iPhone. Yeah, it's quality when it's shot on iPhone. Because I'm watching on Apple TV. But the iPhones tend to be pretty good. Yeah, that's actually finished for that. Now I can fully focus in. They're gonna call yellow. Oh, for that foul against Robin Laud. And that was after the ball was kicked away. There was no hesitation from the ref on delivering that yellow. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff that's going on with Philadelphia. Apparently, one of their front office members is suspended for right now. And they also have 4 players apart from last season, apparently. And it looks like no substitution may be needed. So good to know that another fat man. There's Greg Berhalter, who has who's probably not pleased with Laud right now. Probably not pleased with Laud with that. But yeah, there's been all kinds of wild stuff that's going on. I better understand when the breaks are. So I know better to not miss a piece of the action just to clean up. But anyway, let's actually get to commentating the game properly now. That ball goes out of bounds. He tossed back in by Chicago. Wonder how hard. I can only imagine how hard it is having to maintain your formation in a sport like this. Because when you have a sport like basketball and hockey, the players can just move around almost freely and go anywhere. But in a sport like this, you have specific formations that you have to stick to. I can only imagine how difficult it'd be to maintain them. Unless they're allowed to roam somewhat freely. I wonder how much discipline goes into it. You got like a couple of those midfielders have to be flex guys. So I also know there have been times where the main people that coach the team have made some questionable lineup decisions. Ugh. But so far, I mean, we did have that. Oh yeah, last week we had an absolute disaster class of a game by Minnesota. They're gonna have. I'm hoping they manage to prepare some protections after that, because they really gonna need that extra protection. They're really gonna need it. Oh, hey, they mentioned South Africa. It was a matter of time before they did. Apparently, they're putting a Minecraft theme park in the UK next year. Can you believe it? Minecraft theme park in the UK. One of them. It probably means they'll make a Jack Black version and of inflatable Steve for one of their rides or something. Oh yeah, there was a game that was played earlier. Toronto beat Columbus 2-1. Should mention that. And even though I'm a fan of Charlotte, I want to try. I'm trying to take the same approach that I do with my NFL ones, and try to avoid having the same teams appear or as often as possible. To having the same teams from appearing too often. So, so what I mean by that is, since I've already covered Charlotte once, I need to be careful on the next time I decide to cover a game involving Charlotte. That because I want to make sure to give other teams a fair shot at appearing. That's why I'm taking a similar approach. I could just as easily just cover Charlotte every single week if I wanted to. But it's more fun to have variety than it is to just cover the exact same team and expect things different results. And it's also why I try to cover the hockey teams as spread out as I do. Especially with how many games the hockey teams play in a given season. They play like up some teams play 72 total, others play like 82 total. Depends on the league, depends on the league, depends on the scheduling. It's just simpler to spread them out based on how I want to do it. And it'll be a free kick inbound as they're gonna catch win on a foul. Yeah, I keep forgetting there. You think that with how much I've used this particular layout thing, that I would have had a better time trying to. Better time remembering how it looks. But you never can tell sometimes. But yeah, there's definitely been stops. I think I need to refresh the thing over here, but okay, no, I didn't. But it's nice to make sure just in case. So far, nobody has managed to get the ball into the net. And something worth mentioning, the MLS is still rather new in terms of major leagues. That shot is not going to find his way in. It's just going to be a corner. Sorry. Yeah, they try to send it in from the corner. It ain't gonna go through from the corner. That ball gets kicked right out of bounds. I don't think he meant to do that, but he did it anyway. But as I was saying, compared to other top dog play, the MLS is still rather new when compared to everyone else. Like top competition in England, even though it went under a new, even though it's the current iteration of it, it's been around since the 1990s. It's it's been around forever, pretty much. Everyone else has had longer, more established uh, ladders. MLS is still new to it, and it's mainly driven by like draft picks and stuff. There's no promotion or relegation because there's money in stake. They ain't gonna try. They ain't gonna want to lose money for being demoted. They want to gain money, and I do not see the MLS adopting promotion and relegation anytime soon. I really don't. Really don't. And that's gonna and they're gonna catch Ash Villa and they're gonna give him a yellow. That's the second Chicago player that's been given a yellow card today. Villa, he, they may have seen him get away with it a couple times, but apparently they thought enough was enough. So that's two Chicago players that are now on the verge of disqualification. Comes the kick, it gets blocked down. And that's not gonna be able to be on target. It's gonna go end up being a corner. A scoreless affair is what it's looking to be. And here comes the corner. It's gonna hit the top of the net, but it won't go in. It's too far above. It bounces off the top of the net to leave out of bounds. Can you imagine how many doinks there are gonna be? This, I mean, there are no scoreless ties. be a commonplace now nowadays in this sport. Well, it's pretty much always been a case in this sport. But it's usually more fitting if it occurs between two bottom feeders. And Philly right now is not off to that good of a start. Come think about it, has Philly scored any goals yet this season? I don't know. Let me check and see if Philly has managed to score any goals this season. And we have a collision at midfield. We had a collision at midfield. They need a medical staff to come out. Let me see here. Okay, they scored two. So Philly has scored two. So that's an average of 0.5 goals a game. When you have head-on collisions like that, your biggest concern is where it actually hurts, where they actually hit each other at. As well as any potential damage, any potential whiplash to the head or anything like that. Because you want to make sure. Oh, if you already have access to Apple TV, you can just watch it there. If you already have access to Apple TV, you'll be able to watch it. But I think they do air. But I do think, like with most leagues, they have to air it on their local stations. Like whatever the local Chicago station is, they have to air it there. Whatever the local Philly station is, they have to air it there. That's why it's always. Of course, they may have some national TV deals, depending on the leagues in question. But I know that I do know that at least in terms of like the streaming side of things, if you have access to Apple TV, like as in you're already paying for Apple TV, you should be able to watch the game just fine. You don't have to get a pass or anything anymore. They restructured it. It's all just part of base Apple TV now. But if you're in the local Philly or Chicago area, always check your local stations. Same applies to where your teams are. Like if you're in the Charlotte market, check your local stations, see what channel Charlotte plays on. If you're in Vancouver, check your local stations for the Whitecaps because they're almost always going to air the games in their local networks. The name of the TV? Well, if you're out of network for any of these and want to watch them online on through streaming, the service is called Apple TV. You should be able to download it on basically any service that supports or Apple TV. Like you should be able to get it on like a Fire Stick or a Roku. I think you can actually get it on some of the more recent video game consoles too. You can depending on the devices you have, you can access it on like a phone or a laptop. Uh, but if you again, if you already if you're already paying for Apple TV or your current household is already allowing access to Apple TV, you're actually able to get it just straight from the jump. Um, and there has been a substitution for Chicago, by the way. They're not taking any chances. Is with Zinkernagel. They're not taking any chances with him. They're just subbing him straight out for Haile Selassie. I told you there were going to be some bad pronunciations, but Zinkernagel has been subbed off. They're not taking any chances with him after that collision. Haile Selassie is now in the game. That's the first substitution of the game for either side. Also, I think Apple TV now has it to where you can watch F1. So I might tune into some F1 from time to time, depending on when I'm up, among other things. So we'll see. If I'm not gonna be live streaming F1, I might just watch that more like my spare time. So is that another collision involving a Chicago player? Looks like he's able to get up on his own power. So they're just gonna go on ahead and continue to play. By the way, something I should mention: the newest song by Nickelback has been made the official theme song for WrestleMania 42. Honestly, I haven't heard the song yet, but considering what theme they went with for what song they kept blasting and stuff throughout last year, I would say that having a Nickelback song is a big improvement over a low bar. I really do not like Fiend by Travis Scott. I really don't. It just annoys me so much. Just really annoys me. So I'll happily take a Nickelback song being an improvement overall. And that's off the post. We had ourselves a doink. And now, out the ball is still within the Chicago zone, sent backwards. Philly's having to do a little bit of regrouping now. But Chris Brady was right there to get his hands all over it. It We had a doink, an absolute doink off the top of the post. An absolute doink. And now Chicago is looking to try to get a goal in. And they're gonna stop play right there. They're giving a yellow card to Indigna. No, Indinga. Sorry. It's Indinga. Sorry. Felipe Indinga for Philadelphia. It's now gotten a yellow. Oh, and is one away from disqualification. Well, I say disqualification because, well, red card means your night's done, but it also means you have to play a man down the rest of the game. Well, unless the red card's on a goalie, which I believe you have to use a sub to put in a new goalie. It's I haven't really looked that much into that part of it. I know you play a man down if a red card is shown to a player on the field that isn't a goalie. It's weird. Well, make more sense when it does. When I do actually see it happen and read a little further into it. But it has happened before this season. There has been a time where a team plays a man down. I believe the first time that happened was believe Austin was the first team that had to play a man down. Now on this kind of showcase this season of the ones I covered. And I do have proper graphics for them. It's just crazy to think. I mean, they are very careful with the Reds. But we have also seen yellow cards get thrown in the way of couches and benches, which is which is allowed, by the way. There have been cases in sports where a coach has been thrown out of a game. I don't think we've seen a coach get thrown out of a football an NFL game yet. I don't think we've seen that happen yet. I know I've seen footage of hockey coaches getting thrown out and basketball coaches getting thrown out. Those have happened. And there have been times where the coaches in soccer have been thrown out. Or managers. I think there are times managers got thrown out in baseball. I think. I don't remember. I think it's the managers in baseball. Some challenges that are good and successful. Philly can't get lined up for a shot because Chicago managed to take it away. Time is winding down for this first half. Remain wondering about some of that stuff that's on the TV screen. They don't show that at the actual games. There are some things that are shown on the TV that aren't shown in the actual games. There's no holographic ad popping out from the out of bounds line at the stadium itself. That's a TV graphic. Just thought I'd bring that up. Geez, my teeth sure are like that. Chicago with the ball, and they're gonna call that one a foul. Yeah, thanks for. I was talking about F1 earlier. So thanks for talking about that. Yeah, it's been pretty much like nothing exciting on the score sheet, but there's definitely been some yellow cards thrown out there. We had a doink, and we had some collision that led to a substitution because one side didn't want to take any chances. And, but it, we'll see if this ends up being the case in its second half as this set of 45 winds down. Chicago advancing the ball, really able to intercept. There was nobody there to receive the ball. Oh, so Chicago's going to get it right back. There's going to be some stoppage time, obviously. It's just a question of how much. Because they had to spend a good minute during that collision. Seven minutes of stoppage time. They added 7 minutes of stoppage. So we're gonna be looking at around 52 total minutes of this first half. But it is going to be a corner. But I think it'll be a corner. Yeah, it will be a corner. And Philly continues to have some of the same struggles. They have given up 7 goals from what I understand across 4 games, but no flag went up for offsides. But that will be a save. Okay, I just had to refresh the thing for a moment just to make sure everything was all good. Chicago advancing down, and it is knocked into the net. Chicago scores first, and stoppage time. Chicago manages to strike first. Hugo Cypers manages to get it in off the head. As that is another goal given up this early in the season by Philly. If anything, if anything, Philly should be thankful they're not losing by worse at this point in the half. Then again, they aren't playing the Whitecaps. So, yeah. I would be thankful that I'm not playing the Whitecaps if I'm Philly. Because if this was a game against Whitecaps, they would have probably scored like 5 goals or so before the half is over. I'm not wrong. Just look at how last week when against Minnesota. And I don't know if there's any expansion teams on the horizon in the MLS. I think the main thing they're focusing on right now is transitioning into this new schedule. I think one potential format they could be looking at is open the season in the north, go all the way down south, the further into the winter it gets. And then after they come back from break, start in the south, work their way up to the north, or something like that. And they're still exploring how they're going to do it. They're gathering research. They're gathering research for it. But something they were just talking about, Theville has to be careful. He's already gotten what a yellow card from, and that manages to get through off the header. Philadelphia ties it right up with a goal of their own. And I think that might have been a buzzer beater for them, too. Alon Ilowski gets it in on the header on a throw in. It just bounced its way in. I mean, give credit to Chris Brady. He tried to stop it before it could go in. He had the angle and stuff to do it. He just didn't have the right kind of form to do it well enough. Just didn't have enough. So they're trying to make sure they don't have to go to VAR, and they confirmed that they didn't. And that will be it for this first half. 1-1 game. Both goals scored in stoppage time. That will make this second half suddenly interesting. So now I need to do some cleaning up and stuff. So we'll be back for the second half in just a moment. think I saw that question earlier, but the the answer the the streaming service is for all these games here is done through Apple TV. Like, so if you're already paying for Apple TV, or somebody's already covering your access to it, you're already available. You're already going to be able to watch it, no problem. I think I answered that one already. But doesn't help to keep reminding. But yeah, I was. There were. Well, we got some halftime updates before I could even get sorted out here. Goodman for Chicago's being subbed out in favor of Rajovic, and Bueno's being subbed out for Lukic. Not that, not that particular one. So they're actually about to start back up for the second half, but I still need to get. I need to change my fresh shirt here. Hold on, I'll be able to commentate on the fly. Okay, I'll try to commentate on the fly as I do this. Concussion substitution. All right, yeah, they were just announcing it. Radojevic. Yeah, Radojevic is in for Chicago, and Lukic is in for Philly. And we are in the second half, just so you know. So there, so this will decide if Philly goes 0-5 or if they get their first points of the game, well, of the season. They got their first point of the game already. There's definitely some stuff here. So both sides have used a substitution at this point. And medical staff is back out there for Chicago as they have to make sure they don't do a substitution in here either. Yeah, that's a slight touch. He is able to get up. So there is some good news stuff. So it's about a minute with a man down for Chicago to make sure that their players all good to go back in. The chances have now made it to apparently now there's a 39.9% chance to draw. The highest chance. According to the bet people. Yeah, why would I trust the betting people? When I'd rather just see how the game goes. Right? Right, guys? You know how it is. But remember, there are still players on both sides that have yellow cards. So both sides have to be careful if they don't want to play down a man. Apparently, Philly's running a 4-2-2-2. Yeah, the minute's up. So their players all good to go. That almost sounded like the commentator tried to do the farmer jingle. Oh, with the ba 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 ba. Throwing doesn't really go anywhere. A little bit of a runaway chance for Chicago. All the way down. That is way far. They'll have to get lined back up again if they can. But no, it's going back the opposite way. Be surprised to hear that's supposedly there is a chance Grand Theft Auto may get delayed into next year. Supposedly, I haven't seen any confirmation of it, but it wouldn't be all that. It would not be all that surprising to see GTA get delayed again. After all that game has basically been been like the butt of the joke. Like next month, we're getting an anime GTA 6 before GTA 6. Which is crazy to think. And I need to get some more extra air in here. Try to get some coolness in here. Make sure I'm not sweating in here. I have to make it a fan to make sure this room stays cool. You guys understand, right? I don't like being in a hot setting. I really don't. I don't like being. I don't like having to be in a setting where I'm sweating my ass off, trying to watch something or play something. I like myself a nice, cool environment where I don't have to, where I can just be chill, not have to be so try-hardy, enjoy what I want to enjoy the stuff that I want to enjoy, and not have to be out in the hot sun. Isn't that nice? And mine is, it's like, and I know there are people out there who would criticize me for it, but you try. But to that I say, Florida tends to be among the hotter states out there, even during the winter. There's no spring, there's no fall. It's either cold weather, hot weather with rain, or cold weather with rain. You'd be lucky to see some winds here. Though that's more associated with cold anyway, but still. It's usually cold, hot with rain, or cold with rain. There's nothing else about it. There's nothing else about Florida that indicates it's anything sort of cool place. I like me a cool place. The only good thing about being in Florida is that I don't have to deal with snow. But even then, there's no telling with how the weather is. Florida is one of those states in the US where their cold weather isn't that easy to come by throughout out a winter season. But it's also one of those states where it can get really hot really fast. Which is and that heat stuff in particular is why I try not to go outside much. Unless it's for some and why I would much rather have an indoor job with cooling involved. I'm not so sure what kind of buzz this is I'm saying about Chappelle Rome here. Well, by the way, I can get to that in a moment because we just saw a goal for Chicago. We just had a goal for Chicago, everybody. It's a goal for Chicago. They lead 2-1. Jonathan Bamba gets it in. See here. Something to do with. Let's. Says here something to do with a security guard. To do with a famous footballer named. I mean, Jorginho. Hmm. Large security guard came over while having breakfast, began speaking in aggressive manner. Jen loud daughter her to disrespect or harass. I would put that more on the security guard being not doing a good job at being a security guard. But there are some substitutions for Philly here. As Bedoya's coming off for Vasilov and Sullivan's coming off for Jakubovic. From what I'm seeing here, it's not Chappelle Roan herself that took issue with the family, but rather the security guard. That's what I'm getting out of this here. And there's a wide shot. Yeah, looking through that there. Yeah, looking through the main thing there. There's From what I'm getting here, it's basically the standard story of not being able to handle public stuff. Yeah, it seems to be quite. Yeah, from what I'm seeing here. Oh yeah, Philly did make a substitution. Gene Jagas got subbed out for Raffanello. Should mention that. Based on what I'm seeing here, it seems like from what I understand, it could just be a classic case of person gets popular and can't handle the popularity all that well. Artists, because there have been plenty of cases where that has happened. I think this will eventually become a. I think this will eventually become a case of Chappelle getting becoming a celebrity and not being able to handle it well, to where she eventually loses the fan base that she had on her subsequent releases. That's what the situation reads like to me. Because there are people out there who do go out of their way to manage their public appearances, and some who just don't bother making public appearances at all that often. And some just do the public appearances and don't know how to do so with the handling whatsoever. There's also some that do the public appearances and do a good job at it. There's a lot of different ways that could occur. Don't get me don't get me wrong. She had a solid her debut album was solid, but sometimes just it's just that some people are just not that cut out. Some people are just not all that cut out to handle all the publicity. And when that happens, it just exposes some of the bad stuff that goes on with them. It's just a harsh reality of being a celebrity. You live by being a celebrity, you die by being a celebrity. Shoot. Dude, for all I know, I could end up being one of those people who just one random day just blows up on the internet for doing this stuff. And then I'm like, oh my god, I'm so popular. I'm popular on the internet. How am I supposed to manage this? How am I supposed to manage this? And just fall off the cliff afterwards. Never to be heard from again. Can happen to literally anyone. I think this is just going to be a classic case of that for Chappelle Roan, based on what I've been hearing about, based on that post and some of the responses I've seen of it. No artist remains popular forever. Sometimes you have to just take off the glasses and the tinfoil hats. Yeah, I do see that being a case of typical person gets popular, don't know how to handle the popularity too well, falls off sometime afterwards. After some exposure of some not great things. That's but with that said, I do think that there is some fault with the security guard with how they viewed the situation. There's absolutely no denying the security guard should have known better, especially when it involves a little kid. And that it saved Chris Brady. We got off track for too long. We need to get back to the game itself. As I said before, Rafael has been subbed in for Philly for Gene Jacques. But time will tell if Philly can tie it back up, but they don't have that much of a time frame to do it in. They really don't. Not much of a time frame to do it in. I'm trying to make sure streaming can be delayed compared to the local television thing. But I can definitely tell you this is kind of more on brand for the sport. A lower scoring game, but not much in terms of scoring. Not it's pretty. This is the pretty much average game. for a sport like this. And oh yeah, suppose it. I forgot about something about the White Sox. Supposedly, they may have gotten a better sight out the whole thing. Let me see. Yeah, apparently the Whites. That's Indigna is not. Sorry, Indinga is not gonna get a chance to get a second yellow turn into a red. He's being subbed out for Bender. He's being subbed out for a metal ass. Hope somebody got that reference. Because it's pretty much one of those catchy things. Apparently, just across the river from the 78 is a piece of land that used to be an Amtrak rail yard, or that is an Amtrak rail yard, that somebody is, that, that somebody who is looking to try to buy into the White Sox is trying to buy. So, so we'll see if they actually do end up buying. We'll see if the White Sox do end up getting to build a new stadium at the Amtrak rail yard or at Southwood. But yeah, well, it's mainly just gonna be a question of if the Philly can actually score a second goal at this point. or if they'll fall to 0-5. Because scoring that second goal is going to be key to getting their first points of the season. Yeah, it's hard to try to commentate when there's a second goal because Philly has just been struggling. They won the Supporters Shield just last year, and now they're this at the start. Granted, there's still time for them to correct the course, but they're going to have to do so quickly if they want a shot at the playoffs. Because if they wait too late, they're just not going to be able to do it. And it's off the post again. There's a doink. Yeah, we had some doinks and doinks and more doinks. You gotta love those doinks. Also, the next game, Nashville versus Orlando, is active. If anybody that is a fan of either of those teams wanted to go watch that. Just remember to check your local stations. If you're out of market, see if you have access as to an Apple TV subscription. If you can't afford the subscription, don't worry about it. There'll be notifications all over the place. Philly, he with the ball. And that's a bad challenge. That's going to be a yellow card to Radojevic. That's another player for Chicago. I think that's number 3 now for them. I think that's player number 3 for Chicago with a yellow. And they still haven't used any of their remaining substitutions. They haven't. So, uh, there are more things coming up at later dates and later times, and yada yada. But we are going to be back for hockey soon. Yay. But is it? And it looks like Chicago will go ahead and use 2 substitutions. Lot is coming off in favor of Shokaluk, and Bamba is coming off for Dean. So Lod will not get a chance to get a red. And Chicago's just looking to try to retain their lead right now. There's, of course, still the stoppage time for the possibility of Philly to tie, but their chances are looking more and more slim. More and more slim. We'll see how much stoppage time there is, but Philly's running out of time to prevent an 0-5 start to the season. We'll see how much stoppage time there is. And it's going to be 3 minutes. So they're not going to have they if the if Philly wants to actually gain a point, now's the time for them to do it. Because they're not going to have much time to do it. This would also be the third game where the winner only scores 2 goals this season. If things stand right here. We had the first two go back-to-back 2-0 home wins, then a 3-1 home win for Charlotte. 6-0 home win for Vancouver. This one could be the first road win of the season on this channel. If things remain as is. Philly needs to hope that they can get control of the ball and score quickly. As they don't have the time to goof around. They struggled all game. Philly does have the ball right now. Now it's kicked away by Chicago. Philly with the ball. Philly needs to get the ball and kick it into the net now to avoid 0-5. Ref smartly gets out of the way. And that ball's kicked away by Chicago. That might have hurt the Philly chances at tying it. And they need a quick one right here to will they be able to do it? And they're trying. Get away. It won't happen. It's an 0-5 start for Philly. As Chicago takes this one in a grind. It's 2-1 win for Chicago. Philly just couldn't do it. The chances were too good for them right now. And so that is where this game comes to an end. We'll be back with some hockey. We got more soccer coming your way soon. But for now, I'd like to thank you all so much for tuning in to this one. We got ourselves a tanker this early. And until next time, travel safely.